In this lecture, let us talk about Shalya Tantra, the surgery in Ayurveda, and I'm always so happy talking about it because this is one of my favorite branches. I wanted to become a surgeon initially when I, started my medical preparation for the entrance exam. So I wanted to be a surgeon at that time. And this is my favorite branch and the branch of discovery, yeah, for me, because whenever I go through this text I find it very, very fascinating. The major text in Ayurveda for surgery is Sushruta Samhita, and Sushruta Samhita is basically a discourse between the teacher and the disciples, and through this discourse they discover the secrets of Ayurvedic surgery. So the very first chapter, one of the disciples, he asked Devodas Dhanvantari, who is the primary teacher in this text. He asked that, why surgery is important. Then Devodas Dhanvantari, he replies that surgery is not only important, it's actually the most important branch in Ayurveda. And why is that so? Because the answer is so beautiful. He says that because nobody is falling sick. You see, at that point in time, the human society, or probably the entire living world, was so healthy. They had good healthy habits. They had organic food by default. Yeah, they had organic food by default. The food, the water, everything was clean, unpolluted. People were eating on time. They were eating the right things. I believe there was no junk food at that time, and so nobody was falling sick. So nobody needed kaya chikitsa or the general treatment. Nobody had diabetes. Not so many people probably. So only few will fall sick, and then they would require the treatment. And imagine that kind of health care, this public health, where people are not falling sick. So they will have so much of energy. They would have so much of productivity. They will have no fear of falling sick and dying early. The families will be more secure. There will be less of insurances, because you see, this a healthy environment, a healthy society, a healthy traditions, they are the biggest insurance, the biggest health insurance, the biggest life insurance. And today we don't have that. Today we have health insurance, but junk food outlets at the same time. So basically we are just feeding the companies. Alright, so at this point in time, the healthcare was so good that people were not falling sick. So the only time maximum people needed treatment were two conditions. Either they had accidents, yeah, because when you have an accident, you really need medical attention, whether you are healthy or you're sick. And the other condition was when there was a war, because in a war, obviously there were casualties and they needed immediate treatment. And in these two conditions or similar conditions, there was only one branch that could bring them immediate relief and at the same time prevent further damage, and that was surgery. So Dhanvantari Devodasi says that, you see, this is the reason why surgery is the foremost branch in Ayurveda according to Sushruta Samhita, because people, they do not fall sick. So the only time they need treatment is when you have a war or you have a casualty or accident. Okay, and for this reason everyone must study surgery. If you really want to heal the society, you must study surgery. So imagine the beauty, the healthcare potential of the society, where the surgery becomes the most important field. Yeah. Another factor which Dhanvantri Devodas he stated was that surgery, it works where other treatments have failed. Say for example, you are in the process of Kaya Chikitsa, general treatment for leprosy, but leprosy it's not stopping and it's spread to a certain extent, then you have to make a surgical intervention. Say for example, you are using all the medicines prescribed by Kaya Chikitsa for your dental health, but once you have a decay, Ayurveda prescribes surgery, dental surgery, and there's so many ways. Not Charak Samhita, Sushruta Samhita describes the way you should surgically remove a tooth. So, yes, surgery is important. I love this aspect of Ayurvedic surgical education, surgery education in ancient India, how they used to study surgery. Today we have dissection of human cadaver to understand what are the body parts and all that, and few people know that it was also practiced. In fact, probably India was the earliest country. Ayurveda was the earliest healthcare system that describes in detail the procedure for doing a dissection of a human cadaver in order to understand. So the students in surgical institutes in Vedic era, they would submerge a human body in a river, okay, and this human body, when it is submerged, it will bloat up, it will swell up, and they will apply certain herbs and do certain things, and this bloated body, this swollen up body would be then dissected to understand the very minute details. Now what we do today is so regressive, because today we dry up the body in a morgue. We dry up a dead body with certain salts, so all the tissues, they become very, very compact, they are stuck together, and then you dissect the body, so you see all the major organs, everything. But imagine the kind of minute details you might be able to capture if you are dissecting a bloated, a swollen up body, because all the body parts, they will be magnified at least 5 to 10 times. Yeah, so this is so advanced and it is so simple. I love the simplicity that comes with the profound effect. Simplicity. So this was one of the things that fascinates me about the ancient education in surgery. And also the students, they were made to practice on vegetable. They were cutting vegetables for first 2 to 3 years. Imagine the level of patience. Yeah. So why they were cutting vegetables? So that they perfect their moves. They perfect not that chop vegetable, but the vegetables. If you look at the vegetables, they're so interesting. If you look at different types of foods, you will find an incredible similarity between these vegetables and human body parts. Say for example, walnut. It gives you sense of a brain and so closely resembles it. So if you're finely cutting swollen up walnut, this is a possibility that you may develop that kind of fine skills of dissecting and using your hands and your fingers in the most efficient manner. Say for example, you develop that fine skill to make a small hole in a tomato and take out all the seeds. Won't it benefit you as a surgeon? So, these students, they would practice for years on vegetables, on fruits, and then only they will be allowed to practice on human cadavers or on human bodies. Besides the education, it had minimum of 6 years for the surgeons. Yes, so you had to actually be in a surgery school for minimum of 6 years, and then only you'll be qualifying as a surgeon. So I think that's a great amount of experience, practical skill that a person can develop. And you cannot just go and practice after getting your degree from that college. You have to get a degree, a passing certificate. Your teachers have to certify that you are adequately trained now in surgery. At the same time, you also have to go and get registered to a local administration. It can be village administration or city administration, or it was called Rajagya. That means permission of the administration. So a surgeon ideally should be permitted by the administration to practice. So this was the code of conduct. So when I look at it, I find it very, very structured. And so you see, these are some of the most amazing things about Ayurvedic surgery. And as a child, Ayurvedic surgery was something that got me interested into Ayurveda, because in my 8th grade, I still remember I read a chapter on Sushruta, and I'm very grateful to whoever wrote that chapter, because he described the herbal threads that the physicians used. Those herbal threads, they were self-dissolving, and they would just dissolve in the wound, and at the same time they would prevent the infection and promote healing. So imagine the kind of thread you're using, and that thread also is promoting healing. So that was one thing. Besides the kind of surgical instruments that were described in that chapter, and I was so fascinated that they can be something which is so interesting. As a child I was so interested, and later obviously I found a lot more about it. So yes, Ayurvedic surgery was something that helped to turn me towards Ayurveda, and I hope that this lecture also helps to turn many small kids to the discovery of this amazing, incredible, mind-blowing science. Now let us discuss some of my favorite things, the most incredible standards of healthcare, most incredible standards of quality in Ayurvedic surgery, which may be unbelievable. People may not be able to imagine that these kind of things used to happen. Yeah. So first thing, as we discussed, they used to dissect the human body for surgery, right? And which was unbelievable. There were 300 distinct type of operations. It included bandaging, healing the wound, treating, cleaning the wound, everything. 300 distinct type of surgical operations that were described in Sushruta Samhita alone. At that time, there were many other texts, many other contemporary texts that are now lost due to many reasons. Yeah. There were 120 unique types of surgical instruments, and I would love to create another separate course. Please, comment and reach out to me if you want to discover these surgical instruments. They are so amazing, and they are all based on natural things. Say one of the surgical instrument is called sehmukh. That means forceps that resemble the mouth of a tiger, so that you are using those forceps to actually extract some kind of foreign element, foreign material, and that's stuck inside the body. There were 47 exclusive types of surgeries, and these surgeries, they use natural anesthesia from herbs like cannabis. The potential of cannabis as a painkiller is already proven in the Western world, and there's so many other natural herbs that create a very potential effect. Yeah. So surgical instruments, they were made up of gold, and this is so beautiful because gold is an inert metal that doesn't react normally. It creates no complications, no side effects, no allergies to most of the people. So this was the metal that was used for making most of the instruments. Also some instruments were made from silver, and there were categories where you should use gold. What were the, there were different types, there were different combinations of gold and silver that were used to make these surgical instruments, so that they don't react in the body. They produce only good and no harm. And this is my most favorite of all, the self-dissolving herbal threads that were made from the hair of animals, or from herbs, or from plants. And these threads, they will just dissolve in the wound. You will not have to take them out. And because of their medicated properties, their medicinal properties, these threads will promote healing. So you see, I love this concept. It's so simple and so beautiful. It's so effective. And can you imagine this? Some of these surgeries were very few people know about Ayurvedic surgery. So, you see, there is something called Indian flap that is used for nose correction surgery still. And this, why it is called Indian flap? Because this kind of surgery was still practiced in post-colonial era for a very long time, till the time it was completely abolished by the British government. And the Vaidyas, they were forbidden from doing surgeries. This kind of surgeries was still happening. And the information about this Indian flap was actually published in Gentleman's Magazine in Britain in 1794, before it was forbidden for Indian Vaidyas to practice this surgery. And then from there, they got that information of our knowledge about nose reconstruction, which was happening in India for ages. Yeah, so we have lost this beautiful art. And I hope that this lecture inspires you to come together and rediscover this beautiful art, this beautiful science, and to read Sushruta Samhita yourself. I invite you, all of you, to read Sushruta Samhita and at least get aware about the immense possibilities